The leaves fall from the trees.
Silêncio agora.
Once more, I descend to my husband's kingdom.
Dá like na live do
The
YouTube.
gods claim it is a place of shadows and sadness. But what do the gods know of death? What do they know of me?
Plantou uns romã ali, ó. Olha, fizeram uma cinemática pra ela. Porra, os caras estão
They never
investindo.
wondered why.
Finalmente fizeram uma cinemática legal, né?
But I had my reasons.
Persephone, Queen of the Underworld.
One of the most requested gods.
É só isso? Ah, cara. Podia ter mostrado ela fazendo mais coisa,
So
mano.
excited to finally get a chance to show it off to you guys. Still joined by AJ and Chris, but now we got Pon joining us here. Guys, we're all dressed up because that's what
Se vocês não conseguem abrir o app, fica carregando infinito. O app da SMITE Brasil Build, você tem que atualizar ele. Vai lá na Play Store e atualiza ele, que a gente já tá na versão 3.0.42, se eu não me engano.
Interesting personality, right? How would you describe it? I don't know. I say her personality is definitely the she knows what she wants and
Bora dar like aí no YouTube, galera.
She can go right after it.
So the lore video there.
A do lore foi bem curtinha também. Às vezes tem que prolongar isso um pouquinho.
Inundated in that part of the realm, Pon, why don't you kind of give us a quick breakdown?
Yeah. So her overall lore is that she is the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, and they
Não
had
teve Tina
a lot
nesse
of time
patch,
just telling her
graças
what
a
she
Deus.
was gonna do. Demeter
Imagina a
was like
Tina
giving her a couple
Hennig.
of mysteries, and Zeus felt it was appropriate for
risada
him to
escrota
give
dela.
Persephone away without talking to her at all.
Porra, Tina.
And so she went to the Underworld. Hades took her to the Underworld, and the seasons ended up causing to be existed because Demeter was sad. She controlled the seasons. The world started dying, and Zeus was like, "No, you have to bring her back." And so Hades offered her a choice of a pomegranate seed. And Persephone understood what that meant, that if she ate the pomegranate seed, she'd be choosing to stay with Hades rather than returning to the overworld for essentially forever. And so she took destiny into her own hands, ate the pomegranate seed, and they actually had probably the most successful relationship in Greek pantheon. Hades ended up taking on aspects of her, becoming a more harvest character, especially when she was in the Underworld. And when she's in the Underworld, she is the queen of the Underworld. She actually is able to. She has.
Aliás, não faz personagem feminino feio.
She's the one that kind of
Mas o
guides
que
them
é
through
feio,
the
né?
Underworld.
Podia
She
fazer
has her own
personagem
domain in the
diferente.
Underworld, and they ended up taking on aspects of each other, and now they're kind of working together to their own ends.
Okay, so Persephone, I mean, Hades has been kind of a mainstay in the SMITE story for a while.
Cadê a
now.
Persephone?
It's
Não
been
vou mostrar,
Ragnarok
vão.
and
Calma
all that
aí,
when it
cara.
happens in game. Now Oleron has kind of risen to be the,
Enquanto
the,
isso,
the
Hades
light
parece um monstro
side. Is
da Turma da
Persephone kind of
Mônica.
his anti-hero on the other side?
We're gonna be
Pois é, Gustavo
exploring
Augusto.
Persephone and Hades,
Tá difícil
their
pra gente conseguir a
backstory and their
parceria, cara.
complexities as
Tá difícil.
gods, and their motivations a lot more in the upcoming SMITE storyline and our future events, specifically the Odyssey.
Okay.
So little spoilers, as the Odyssey will be focusing on Persephone a lot.
Okay.
And we're already finishing up the first chapter of that story, and it is really awesome. And you get a really in-depth view about the complexities that go on with those characters that appear.
Já passou a
they're-
tier 5 do
they're
Kukulkan.
gods and goddesses of death, but they have very
passou.
different motivations than the
Já
gods of Olympus.
passou.
And the key
Já
distinction there is that
passou.
Persephone
Quem
doesn't like how
sabe
controlling
outro
and
dia.
selfish those gods of Olympus are. They are ultimately self-serving, even though they appear benevolent. Persephone wants humanity to have more freedom. As someone who ruler of mortal souls in the underworld, she
Anel
is the
Querendo
one who
Gala, e
she
sim.
experiences
Obrigado,
human death
Ramp, obrigado pela
every day.
postinha.
Sure.
And it's impacted her heavily, and her and Hades
Filho
understand.
da mãe.
So, Persephone's going to be trying to shake up the Olympian
Jump
gods,
scare.
and prevent them from being so rigid. And she's going to do this through some interesting ways, and it's going to be a good bit of our.
Eu não quero
of our story.
receber jump
It's going to be
scares,
a
pelo amor
long
de
narrative,
Deus.
I guess I'd say.
Okay, fair enough. I'm excited to see some of that, but I'm also excited to see Persephone in game. We've been doing this.
Vamos ver agora em
before,
game,
so
galera,
we get a chance
finalmente.
to have whoever's back there, I believe it's Clumsy today, kind of give us the quick run.
Nossa, anda igual uma retardada, não gostei não.
And then we'll go down and break it down step by step.
Anda igual
So,
uma
Clumsy,
idiota.
Have at it, have some fun.
Olha, parece uma desajustada. Os efeitos são legais, cara. Os efeitos são legais. Por que não faz live no Face? Ah,
That's a lot.
sei lá, eu parei de
There's
fazer
a
live
lot
lá.
happening. on
Yes.
my screen right
Tinha uns efeitos bem
There's a lot
legais.
going
Não,
on,
pelo
and if you
modo
don't
que
know
não
exactly what's happening, it might be hard to follow.
Vai me
But we'll
assustar.
dive right into that.
Yeah, that's what the breakdown is for. But let's kind of stay
Você é
tuned out a little bit
ectotérmico?
here
O
for
que é isso?
Pon for a second. What is Persephone designed to do? How is she gonna really make her kit work?
So we wanted to highlight this combination of life and death and create a kind of necromancer-like character that isn't just about bringing up skeletons and spooky like bone creatures. We wanted
Nossa,
there
parece que ela
to
anda
actually
com as,
be like,
parece
what
que as
is
pernas
her-
dela tem
her
5
life-giving
metros, velho.
power
Olha
and
como que
nature
ela
powers?
anda, cara.
What if they are fused with underworld powers? And so her kit revolves around this interplay between life and death and her ability to create these constructs of plant and skeleton using souls in the underworld that are willing to help
Achei
her.
o design legal, mas
And her
essas
whole
pernas estão
gameplay
meio
revolves
estranhas. Ela
around
tá andando.
creating this kind of field of plants that she calls her garden, and then using all her
Gostei
abilities
desse
to
novo
either
alerta de
plant
donate, não dá
more
ódio como no
things
antigo.
or grow them rapidly for a lot of damage, a lot of
Achei legal o personagem,
immediate
mas o
flourishing.
jeito de andar é muito
Okay,
feio,
so the
velho.
first thing I'm noticing is that we got a big
Porra,
passive
irei.
icon.
Yes.
The pomegranate. It looks
Aí
like it's
sim,
filling
Hansbom,
up
muito
with seeds.
obrigado.
Am I interpreting that correctly?
Correct. So her passive is pomegranate seeds. And this is whenever she has a plant, so you see a plant was placed there.
Ela
auto-attack
interage
is
com o
activated,
que ela
that's how you activate
planta
these
ali, ela
plants
pode
in one
colher.
way. And when those are activated, you get a seed
Okay.
that flies to you. You can store up to 100 of them, and you might notice that the first one's really big and the 3 other ones are kind of small. It's because that first
Ela
one is
pula
really
quando
important.
solta
Once you get
skill.
25 seeds, when you would die, you instead use those seeds to keep yourself alive for 8 seconds. So you will actually stay fighting for 8 seconds, unable to be killed, unable to be stopped, unable to be CC'd.
O desenho da passiva
You do
da
50% reduced
tripofobia.
damage, but
É porque é um
if
romã,
someone
né?
kills you and
Ou
you
não é
want
um
to try and get the
romã?
finishing blow, you have a garden
É
that
um
you haven't been
romãzinho.
able to activate, you get to do all that stuff for 8 seconds, assuming you have actually farmed the seeds to do so.
So you got to be tending to your garden properly.
Yep,
Good
and you can
sound.
see the six
Me lembra o
there is
Merlin
showing how
andando,
many
é
arrows she
parecido
has
mesmo
over
o
two,
modelo
which
dela
is her
de
main
andar.
ability to
Bem
plant
parecido.
plants. And then the other pomegranates that are on the side, she can accumulate up to 100. So 25 lets her recover and come back to life.
Okay.
Any excess that she generates over the course of playing, when she backs to the base, she actually gets to sell them for gold. So if you're doing this really well, you actually get a little bit of gold generation as well.
Vai, meu filho, morta mais aí,
Okay,
vai.
so 25 is the baseline that you basically need to be hitting if you want to use the kit to its full extent. If you're able to stay out a little bit longer, keep your seed generation going, how much are you, I mean...
Eu não
how much
falei
are you selling
romã, não?
each of these seeds?
Eu falei o quê?
3 per seed.
Okay, and you can get up to how many? 100?
100. So
Okay.
75
Falei
will get
romano,
sold
falei não?
because
Tô
it
ficando
always
doido?
keeps 25, so you can use your revive passive.
Que doideira,
But
eu não
it
falei
won't sell
romã.
any excess past that.
So if you don't like having downtime ever in Smite,
Ficando doido,
this
então.
might be the goddess for you. You're going to be busy on this, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. This passive, I'm really happy with how it's designed because the after death type of mechanic is something that's been requested in the community for a really long time. It's,
Não falei
it's
romã.
something we've always wanted to explore. But we don't like an idea of an ability that does nothing until you die.
Right.
Because if you're playing well, then you get nothing out of it. You're playing
bad
a
stat
4
passive,
ability
old
god
non-drop
instead of
passive.
5.
Yeah.
Which is not fun. So this whole farming mechanic
Valeu,
ties
Gustavo
in
Augusto,
really
obrigado pela
well
carinha
to
invertida.
give
Muito obrigado.
Persephone a clear
Não me
design goal
assusta.
and give her structured rewards at different levels of how well you
Eu vou
execute
assustar,
it.
quer
So
ver?
if you're not making enough seeds at all, you go back to
Eu tô
base.
preparado pra não
25
assustar.
doesn't sell any, right? You have to have extra. So if you just have 20, nothing's happening. When you get to 25, you can
Jump
trigger the
scare, cara.
after death passive, and then if you continue farming, you get that really good feeling like when you're playing a different type of
O que
game.
acontece se
that
tocar a
has
passiva
mechanics like this,
dela?
you know, cash in all of your crops at the
Cara,
end of
isso
the day,
daí eu
or
não sei exatamente.
in a mobile
Eu vou
game in
poder
other ways,
And there's
then you
a-
just
falar
get
melhor
the
quando eu tiver o
gold
patch note em
ching,
mãos,
ching,
tá
ching
ligado?
feeling,
Okay.
which is what we're trying to give with
Oh, yeah,
Com
so
25
it's got
sementes,
the result right
ela
there.
resiste à
Excellent.
morte,
Okay,
podendo
let's
ficar
look at
viva
ability
por
one
8
then, 'cause that
segundos,
passive has a
mas
lot of
com dano
components to it, but I think
reduzido.
it'll probably feel very natural
É o que
when you're
acontece.
using it. Her ability one is called Bone Rush. So what do we got here, Pop?
So this is her bringing in the Underworld to directly assist her. She actually will call forth a skeletal warrior of the Underworld. And this warrior will charge forward without abandon to target anyone in front of Persephone. And charges forward with such force that
Lol.
have you just kind of seen like the cartoon where the skeleton hits a wall and it kind of explodes as pop bones, the bones
Nunca
go
vi
flying?
isso.
Right.
That's what it does. And so it'll damage anyone past the area it runs when it'll stop on the first target hit. So you can see there it stopped immediately and then the pile of bones
Aí
flying
deixa
past,
lá
and
uma
that
paradinha
damages
pra ela
anyone behind the
colher, ó.
target.
Okay.
Additionally, the plant that she places with her too starts out as a skull. and the Skeletal Warrior has a skull. And so when it hits and all the bones go flying, the head actually goes flying to the end of it and also creates a plant. So not only can you create plants with your 2, you can also use your 1 to start placing especially really far out and aggressive plants.
Okay. So
Isso
this
é
is kind of
engraçado.
your longer range planting.
Yes,
You know,
correct.
And
Ó, tá
her
crescendo
core
as
range
plantinhas dela lá, vamos ver o que vai acontecer.
I guess not necessarily her main wave clear because her plants can do that too, but
Yeah.
we'll get more into detail on that on ability 2.
It's pretty fast. I mean, it's got there's travel time for the skeleton, but it looks like the explosion afterwards is pretty quick and pretty
Correct.
long.
I believe that explosion is instant,
Yes, it is.
It is.
but the travel time is there and the deploy time is there. And notice that Persephone, we spared no expense on her visual representation. This is a full-on character we're using for
Yes.
this ability.
Yes, yeah, a whole new friend basically.
Que
to
tipo
add
de
in.
apante
You
é
can
esse?
see wherever she
Parecido.
summons it, that's where it starts summoning from, so you have to take a little bit of
Impressão minha, ela deu
consideration with other
teleporte,
abilities where
Sirius.
If you're side strafing and
Eu não
casting,
vi.
it'll cast from where you were when you cast it, not where you currently are.
I see. Okay.
Gives
so
this ability a really nice feel in game. Although it might look like a simple line attack, it has a very unique feel to it than
Sure.
other abilities in the game. And that ability kind of start it warming up and then let it charge forward allows you to do some really interesting plays where you're moving quickly and you aim at something that you can continue.
Mas
on
ela vai
the
ter
way.
uma
You don't have
habilidade
to
de
keep your
movimento
camera
também.
locked on your target the whole time.
Será que o inimigo vai poder
I like that a
destruir?
lot. All right, number 2, her second ability.
Acho bem
Harvest.
provável
We've
que
seen
sim, cara.
Yes.
Porque não faz sentido ficar ali sem eles poderem destruir, né?
It does a lot of things. So Harvest is the main way that you place your plants
Cura,
out.
dano,
You have 6 charges at a given
lentidão.
time, and you can have 10 plants out maximum. And when you first place it, it's a skull on the ground, and you activate it with basic attacks. You activate all your plants with basic attacks. So you throw out the plant, you auto-attack it, and a skull goes flying to you, and that'll actually heal you. So if you just need quick sustain,
PQP
you can
SUS
drop
do
a
caralho,
plant
nem
in front of
sabia
you
dessa
and use it to
porra.
sustain
Deu um
yourself.
pulo da cadeira
If
aqui,
you
quase
place it and let
batei.
it sit there
Pois
for
é,
4
cara, quando os caras fazem
seconds,
donate dá
a sprout
susto,
will
velho.
erupt through the skull,
Você
showing
tem que
that
ver que
now
da
in
hora
different
que é quando o
states.
cara vira
In this
membro do
situation,
canal.
when you
O
attack
do
it,
membro é bem da
it'll
hora.
explode,
Eu tô
into
programando ainda
a
esses
core
alertas.
and
Olha
any
lá,
enemy that's
nossa.
caught in it
Esses
will take
alertinhas aí vai
damage
ficar
and
bem
be
legal.
slowed. So this is kind of the middle stage.
Esse personagem vai ter um
where you
tipo
place
controle
the plant,
diferente
you
na
wait a little
Ultimate.
bit, and now you can auto attack it to get an explosion to occur in that area. If you wait 24 seconds, so a significant amount of time investment, you can see
Galera,
that
vocês
one
já
over there
podem
has
ver que é um
actually
personagem de
gotten
cast
some
de
legs,
habilidade,
now
né?
able
Então,
to
pelo
move
amor de
around,
Deus, faz o
and when
Pingente
it's
de
attacked,
Cronos
it'll
nesse
become alive
personagem
and
aí
chase
pra
down any
ajudar, né?
nearby god or minion, prioritizing
Faz
gods
também um
first,
livro de
and
Tote,
run
faz
at them
também
and then,
ali
bite them.
And make a really creepy
uma lança do
sound.
sábio, caso você queira fazer dano.
Yeah,
Gema de almas
this
pode
ability has
funcionar
a
muito
lot of
bem
moving
também.
parts. Sometimes you want the
Cajado
exploding plants,
etéreo
sometimes you
eu
just
acho que vai
want to
funcionar e
sustain, sometimes you
deixa eu
want
ver
to
aqui, ó.
amass a
Você vai
giant
começar com a
garden of chasing
bota,
plants and run them at
livro de
opponents.
Tote,
They are
Pingente
only
de
alive for 3
Cronos,
seconds when they are chasing, so players can run away from them
lança
to
do
avoid
sábio,
them. There's
gema de almas.
delay on when they bite, so you can
Você
try
pode
and
fechar com
divide as well,
cajado
so there are
etéreo.
play options to it. But when you have
Se
an
você for
army of
fazer
these
full
plants running
dano.
at you, it's a pretty spooky experience.
Run away, yeah. Okay, so you can juke it if you give it a little wiggle.
Se não,
at the end, it looks
você
like.
vende a
Specifically,
bota no
once it
final.
starts firing, it's locked on to
Você
a
faz o
area.
cajado etéreo, aí você vende a bota e compra o manto da
So can
discórdia.
enemies kill these plants
Aí
or
você fica
skulls?
bom com o
Nope.
personagem.
So one thing that we wanted to make sure of Persephone was she was creating her garden, and she had agency to play around it as best as she could.
Pacote grande,
And so we
agora
wanted to give
membro,
counterplay
você é muito
to gods when
safado
they're
hoje.
activated
Que
and
isso,
where they can
Magic?
stand, rather than giving counterplay in regards to
Eu
them
quero
being able
ver
to
o
kill the
membro
plants.
da
So these
galera.
plants are out there, and there is no way to kill them or destroy them. This is Persephone's garden. You are not going to mess with it.
Pon, I hope you take this as the compliment it's intended as. I love and hate
É considerado
all of
controle,
your
lentidão,
gods because
instâncias,
they make me
efeitos,
think
sim.
too hard. I've got too much going on in my brain, man. I don't have enough brain power to farm and keep my plants where I want them on the right stages.
You are fully capable of
Yeah, you
playing
can do
this
this.
goddess.
You guys, I'm sure I'm gonna try. That's for
We
sure.
did design it in a way that there was growing levels of complexity, but that
Porque a
it wasn't
Ares
necessarily
só põe o
mandatory.
Odin pra apanhar no show. Agora
Our
colocar
skill
a Shaq
4
lá pra
should be
apanhar também.
relatively
ó.
straightforward. As we go through the rest of the kit, you'll see
Sei
that
lá,
there's
porque o Odin é o pai de
combinations that you can
todos,
do
não
this
sei,
to make
cara.
this to get a good amount of
Algum
execution
meme
out of it.
deles lá.
But if you're a top level player and you want to maximize this to its full potential, there is a high skill ceiling there.
And can we just talk a minute about the art going on
Yes.
here
Yeah.
during this ability?
Tem algum
Chris,
efeito é
what
considerado.
was the
Tem mais
thought
algum
process
efeito que é
for
considerado
Persephone's
controle?
effect scheme, and then how did you
Enraizamento,
handle it on this one?
lentidão, stun, banimento, agarrão.
Kind of as we went through development, we decided
tanto
that we also
controle
wanted
no
to throw a lot
Smite.
more elements, like natural elements. to it.
Medo,
So it was kind of hard to keep a balance of like,
silence.
magical
Ah, tem
and
muita
physical
coisa.
kind of thing. So I noticed if you throw out her in hands, you'll
Vários
notice that they're like
controles.
lines
Vou
that
fazer um
can
vídeo sobre os
hit the ground
controles do
instead of just
Smite
being like
e
a straight
como
metal
cada um
effect.
funciona e como counterar cada
And
controle.
same
Vou
with
até
these
anotar
plants,
aqui pra
you know, we
você.
still want
os
we want it
controles
to
do
look like
SMITE
a
e
spore
como
explosion where
counterá-los.
if you blow them up, you'll notice like a flower and a skull pops out, which is all very magical, but there's still
Vídeo
like physical elements tying it all
sobre
together.
os
So it's kind of difficult, but I think it turned out pretty
controles
nicely. It fits her character
do
pretty well.
SMITE,
Looks great, and I think the idea to put these
como
on the ground traveling basic attacks because they're
funciona
popping the seeds
e
up out of the ground.
como
Yes.
And just Persephone is,
conterá-los. Basicamente você vai usar a purificação, né?
We wanted her to have supporting characters. as a
Acabou
kind of
como cauterar os
necromancer
controles.
or, management character. We were
Mentira,
gonna-
tem
we
alguns
were gonna
controles
have
você pode
other
usar um
supporting characters,
Egide
so that's
pra
why we
não
have the
morrer.
skeletal charging minion, as
Mentira,
well
não
as
tem
the
como usar o
creepy
Egide.
flower
Então você vai usar a purificação.
creature that is
Mas você
featured
pode
on the
prever e
card,
usar o
which is
Egide antes.
awesome. And then all of its intermediate
Por
forms,
exemplo,
a
a
lot of
ultimate da
additional
Nif.
artwork went into this goddess.
Você pode tomar
Yeah,
um
big shout out to the team.
Right.
o stun dela, mas enfim, você nunca altera o controle. É, vai usar a purificação.
Tech
Acho que não
art,
tem nem, é só a purificação
animation.
mesmo.
When you have a character that has this many supplemental models, it is definitely a big task, and I mean, just
Ficar debaixo da torre com ela não vai rolar.
I love her
Você não
little,
queria
like,
jogar Plants vs
she's
Zombie?
like
Aí,
having
ó,
a
Plants
good
vs
time, you
Zombie.
know? She's like playing something. She looks like, you know, a little like Snow White, like
A
plants
Nelka
in
do
here,
galo.
plants in there, but it's actually
Yes.
like necromancer plants coming at you.
Isso, cara, para de
You
zoar a Nelka.
exactly nailed it there, Aggro. And if you've read my blog post, you'll see the kind of duality in these themes. She is a regal, powerful supervillain, but she's also young and anti-establishment and a little bit of
Mentira, o
honestly,
puxão do Barão Samed é melhor usar o Egide do que a purificação, porque o tempo da purificação passa e o Barão continua te puxando. Já o Egide, você usa o Egide e vai de encontro o caixão, ele não vai te dar o dano e você consegue sair dali, é verdade. Não é só a purificação. Lembrei que agora, vou fazer um vídeo.
So Flourish is a two-way leap, which is kind of new that we're doing. It's either if you're going
Vamos ver o
forward, you leap
teleporte
forward
dela,
a
essa
set
habilidade
distance, or if
3
you're
aí,
going
ó.
backwards, you leap
É
backwards a set
buraco de
distance.
minhoca.
And it's a leap ability that does something where you take off, not where you land. So she actually kind of explodes life-giving energy underneath her, and that propels her forward or backwards. And that life-giving energy, if there are plants around, not only do
Nem
they
é um buraco de
immediately
minhoca, ela
activate, so this
salta.
is your way of triggering a whole bunch
Podia
of
ser um
plants
buraco
very
de
quickly,
minhoca.
they also upgrade. So if you
Tudo
have
bem.
a few of your
Ela
kind
usa as
of,
plantinhas pra
sprouted plants out,
explodir e
and
pular?
you do the flourish on them, so
Será
you
que ela
can
vai
see there
muito
some of them are
longe?
skulls, some of them
He's going
are.
all in.
Yep. You saw
Oh,
2 explosions and 4 biting plants.
Ok,
So if there's a
gostei
big
do
garden, if you
personagem,
made a
tem uma
big garden,
mecânica que me
here's your way
agrada.
to quickly activate it and get
Eu
the
gosto de
ball set.
personagem que fica castando habilidade a
you don't
todo
need
momento
to-
pra
you
fazer
don't
alguma
need to
coisa
wait for that
acontecer.
24
Eu não gosto muito de
seconds
personagem que fica dando ataque
use
básico,
movement
entendeu?
ability, which is a high investment, but it seems like a big payoff.
Yeah, this is
Gostei.
a nice way for you, especially if you're in a situation where you didn't necessarily get the kind of maximum garden that you
Essa
wanted
aí.
to pre-plan somewhere. You have abilities to actually get some immediate benefit. And not only that, when she uses her flourish ability, she actually pre-germinates her next skull.
É, se
so
for
when
usar
you
pra
place it,
te matar, o
it's
melhor é escolher o
immediately in its
Egide.
tier 2 stage. So you can do
Também.
things like
Só que aí não seria o
backwards
controle,
leap,
seria o
so jump
dano
and
dela,
gank
né?
you throughout your
Pois é.
plant, which is now an exploding plant that slows and immediately basic attack it.
Holy, that's so cool.
Yes.
This ability is sweet.
Very
Gostei.
interconnected kit.
Yes.
This ability also has some other interesting.
É verdade, o controle do
features.
Odin,
Allows
o véu
Persephone to
fantasma, é verdade,
walk
vocês são
over
espertos.
walls.
Aquilo lá é um controle
Similar
de
abilities,
zoneamento, cara.
in the game do not.
É um
We
ringue que ele
redesigned
abre ali.
Persephone's to allow that. But as you see with that little targeting
Botava ela pra
icon,
interagir com
you
a
need to
Punch
make sure you
Silvana.
have the fully
Mas aí é uma
clear
questão a se
distance, or you won't
discutir.
make it over a wall.
Acha que o
She
Smite...
can also leap through
Acho que
walls
talvez se o mapa
backwards.
fosse reformulado, a questão do
Which has
farm
never been
fosse
done before.
reformulada,
Man, I'm
o
gonna,
balanceamento
like,
dos
blink in,
itens,
plant something, then
talvez pudesse
just
existir a
right
interação
But if you make the
dos
mistake, you will just
personagens, mas
faceplant into the wall you're standing
você
right
diz
next to and then
interação
get immediately murdered
de
by a
taunt
pile
ou
of gods.
Be
interação
careful, that has
de
happened, as you just saw there.
habilidades
He thought
que
he was gonna be able to
funcionam
get over that wall and he didn't
juntas?
quite get there, so you gotta be careful.
Back jumping over walls is it could
Porque
be a risky
de vez em
play,
quando
so
alguém
be careful.
levanta umas discussões aqui de personagens que pudessem interagir entre si, entendeu?
You see here a very light, floaty.
Sei lá, por exemplo, Silvano colocasse uma plantinha, ela pudesse fazer essa planta do Silvano florescer e virasse um buff diferente para a equipe. Seria uma interação. Como funcionaria, entendeu? Ou não, só interação estética
That was mostly
mesmo.
designed to discourage people from jumping into a pile of plants and enemies.
Atravessa a parede.
However powerful that could have been, that would have been
personagem bem
extremely high risk, high reward type of gameplay.
O que seria
Mostly just
banimento?
result
Banimento é
of
tipo a
accepting
Freya,
it.
quando
Yeah,
levanta o
not what we
cara.
wanted.
Isso é um
And I want to
banimento.
make a
O
note of
Jano,
effects
quando
here
coloca
too,
o cara no
is a lot
portal.
of her abilities have kind of like this deep red and
Já
darkness to
consegui
it.
imaginar
And
os seus
that
fazendo
area
esse
that she's
personagem
creating
de
is
Jano.
actually pretty
Jogar na
lively
solo,
and
você vai
like
ver.
full of life.
Na
And so you get
Doom,
a lot more of her nature aspects
na
there. I
jungle,
don't know if you want
no
to talk
beach.
more about how we decided to do that kind of style for her.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the pitch for her, you know, we had this duality for the god that we wanted to make, but we didn't want to have like a hell situation where it was like 2 different gods essentially. So Pon kind of designed all of the abilities to have like either like a life element or like an undeath element to them. And,
Na
like,
gameplay
some
mesmo,
combine
botava ela
the
pra
two.
interagir com as plantinhas do
Let's see what
Sylvain e os
That's what we
Cadavers.
were going for. No,
Então,
lots of
eu
times
acho
we
que
talk about life and death with this theme.
cabe no
People think about it
jogo,
alternating.
Edu. Cabe no jogo
Life
fazer
or
isso,
death.
entendeu?
You don't really
Só
show
que
both
eu
at
acho que
once.
precisa
And we
ter um
were
mapa
like,
novo,
nah.
Give me some
We
of that.
want something more
itens
unique and something more
balanceados,
interesting. We're gonna do life and
objetivos
death. So we
melhores no
tried to really
mapa,
design
né?
all of her abilities and
Eu
all of
faria
her
também.
feel
O Smite ele é um jogo 3D, né?
combining life
Ele é um
and
jogo
death
em
into a
terceira pessoa
single
3D,
visual
mais
theme
ação.
at a single time, not
Então ele
alternating
tem
back and
espaço
forth,
para esse
not
tipo de
half and half,
mecânica
but
muito bem.
life
Só que a
that brings
Hi-Rez ela
death,
meio
or
que
death springing
caga
from
muito
life,
nessa
all
questão.
at once. It was not an easy theme to
Fazer a plantinha de
as the
Sylvain
kind of the
crescer.
point of the whole blog post. There's a lot of in-between themes. She's this but that.
Banimento quando o
This,
jogador
but not
tóxico
this,
é
but that.
proibido de
Somewhere in
continuar
between these
jogando.
alternate combinations. It's a difficult
É
theme
isso.
to work with, and she was really challenged for
Eu sou
the
tóxico.
design team.
A ult não mostrou
and the art
ainda, vai
team,
mostrar.
But we're really, really happy with what we're seeing so far.
All right, so let's move on to the
A ult ela vai
ultimate. We got
spawnar
a
uns
chance to see it
bichos
in
ali,
the
você vai ver que
preview, and
doideira.
it looks sweet. Grasp of Death. Your blog post mentioned this was 2 new types of CC.
Yep.
That is true.
Dá dano,
What do we got here, fellas?
dá
So
dano da
when,
habilidade,
Persephone-
dano
and
dos
this is going to
bichos.
be a ability where
e
she
reduz
throws
o
it
ataque
out
speed.
and she conjures essentially life in her hands, a ball of vines, and throws it forward. And this ball of vines will actually entrap and encase. And entrap is the
Nossa,
BCC,
2 tipos de controle,
and encase
cara,
the
que
person
bizarro.
that it hits
Na verdade não é
inside this
bicho,
cage
né?
of
São as
vines.
vinhas
And you
dela.
can see if you walk forward, it actually has like
Achei
a
que havia um
health bar for
bicho ali,
pits.
na verdade aquilo ali é a
It can
imagem
break
do
if it's
cara
attacked.
preso nas
But that
vinhas.
person inside is
Boa tarde,
rooted
Lucas Alves,
and
beleza?
crippled, and they are
Cuidado
have
pra não
their
ser
attack
mandado
speed
embora,
slowed.
hein?
So the only way for them to get out of this ability is either
Porra é
beating
essa?
to remove the effect, or actually like auto-attacking their way out of this thing.
Será que prende
Not
mais
only
de um
that,
cara?
the
Se
vines
tiver
are
3
not done
caras
once
ali?
they've hit their target. They seek
Ela
enemies.
funciona como
They are not
suporte?
content with
Ela
just
não
the
é
person
exatamente um
they trap.
suporte,
And
mas
so
dá pra
vines
jogar
will
na
actually
dolém
reach out to
tranquilo.
grab the person that's around, and when they're grabbed, they can
Nossa,
no
prende
longer
os-
move further away. So you can see that Chalk's trying to run away, but he's tethered to that person, and if he moves closer, it'll actually
O
reel him
cara-
in. Like if he ever moves closer, he cannot move much further around that.
O
So
cara é empurrado
two
pra
new
alguma
types of CC,
direção, é isso
entrapped
mesmo?
and bind.
I'm gonna really like.
Sim,
setting
seria
my
muito bom,
jungler up
MRD.
for double Thor dunks
Ele não
and-
pode
and
sair de
huge
perto do
on
outro
death
porque ele tá
rolls and that kind of
linkado.
stuff.
We played a T5.
Mas tem
Cuckoo
um
game,
esquema ali, ó.
and,
Parece que o cara
this is
ele é
pretty good with
jogado
the
pra
tornado and
direção.
Yeah, that seems not bad.
As
It's
folhas
one of the
elas criam
longest
tipo
duration
um.
CCs
Na
in the
verdade não é a
game.
folha, né? A folha tá ali só pra
Designed
simbolizar que tá rolando tipo
mind.
alguma coisa.
And even the
Ou não.
bind, the allies, it's all
Não,
designed
tô
to
ficando
encourage
louco.
your allies to break you out.
Eu não
Yeah,
Because when
entendi,
you
cara.
break
Alguém
the
que
person out,
entendeu
you
aí
also
pode me
break yourself
explicar.
out.
Hold on.
And not only that,
Hold on.
the
Por que
vines
o
don't
Shaq
care
anda
if
igual um
they're hitting the
retardado e o
god, it's
Odin
fine
não?
if they hit a wall. It creates the deployable there instead of the god.
You can bind them to the wall.
Yep.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're doing this Gold
Nossa,
Fury.
cara.
Stay over there, chumps.
Not-
Você não
is so
precisa
sweet.
acertar um
And if they
cara,
walk in
velho.
afterwards, it's not just on initial cast. If they walk in afterwards,
Você não
the vines
precisa
will
acertar
reach
um
out to them. If
cara
they
pra poder
leave, the
prender
vines
ele
will
naquele
retract
outro
if it
ali,
didn't
velho.
quite get them. So it has a very lifelike quality to it. If you see the Chalk walks in here, and now it reaches out for him and grabs him.
Quanto mais perto ele chega, menos ele pode andar. Ah,
Okay, so
entendi.
if you get hit by the ultimate and you use beads, you get released.
Yeah,
right?
you were able to walk out of the cage.
Isso é muito
Okay, does
forte,
the person
cara.
who is tethered to the cage,
They're still in there.
they
Yeah.
have to beads as well.
They have to
Isso é
wait
muito
for- they have
forte.
beads, they have
Eu
to
quero
wait
ver
the
se isso
duration, or they
interage
have to
com
break
vários personagens ao
trapping
mesmo
vines.
tempo, entendeu?
Okay. But if you're trapped, you can auto attack this.
Se tiver tipo 3
Yep.
personagens. Pensei que a live era às 18 horas. Eu abri essa live aqui mais cedo pra gente acompanhar o patch note.
Gotcha.
Ó, com
And
2 a
as you
gente viu que
mentioned, whoever's
funciona.
trapped in there has their attack speed slowed, right? So
Correct.
it's
Será que tem um
harder for
limite?
that
Será que
person to do
5
it.
pode?
Yep, they can still cast abilities, so like they
Não,
can
tem
push
limite de
people
alcance
away,
sim.
they
É
can
aquele
try
raio
to
dela
fight
ali.
back,
Eu acho esse
but
personagem
they
OP
are
ou
crippled
equilibrado.
outside of it, so
Tá
they
me parecendo
can't
OP.
leap out of it.
Mas tem que ver os
And so you
padrões,
definitely need some
os
people to help you
parâmetros
break out
das
of this more
habilidades,
quickly, and
entendeu?
so if a whole
Se
team
ela vai
gets
dar
trapped,
muito
everyone
dano.
better turn to kill that thing because it's in everyone's best interest.
Can we get this ultimate fired from an enemy Persephone's perspective, please?
Oh, yeah.
Production team, because this projectile
bem-
looks insane.
Yeah,
And
it looks
you
pretty
only get to
crazy.
see
bem
part of
forte.
that awesomeness from Persephone's perspective. It's really the other enemy that
Dá pra destruir o controle e tirar esse CC. Mas o problema é justamente a quebra de combo, né? Você tá ali lutando numa teamfight, ela summona isso daí, pum. Você já tem uma quebra de combo ali naquele momento. E isso é muito forte, cara. É claro, depois o cara pode sair, ele pode usar purificação, pode quebrar aquilo ali como você disse. Mas eu acho que a área é muito grande. E o alcance é muito longo. Você viu o alcance disso?
That's what we're talking about. It looks amazing.
Long,
you just make the cage into a projectile. She throws the cage. I was like, but what makes it scary is just like a giant skull on front of the projectile, and you know.
Está bugado, né?
Oh, also a thing that's highlighted there is it has global range.
It has no max range.
It'll go until it hits a wall. So you can see that one I think is gonna hit like the Phoenix wall.
That was a perfect
Que
shot.
isso, cara?
Oh my God.
What in the world?
Yeah, I mean it has an effect when it hits wall, so it's okay if it keeps going until it hits a wall.
No, it's not okay.
Não, velho.
It doesn't go through walls.
It doesn't go through walls.
Walking into base and just get
É interessante, é muito interessante o personagem do Lucas Alves. A jogabilidade dela é muito boa. Um dos melhores personagens já feito em questão de design. Quando eu falo design, não é a aparência do personagem, tá? É o design de criação do personagem mesmo.
Oh, audio is way louder.
É
That was
ficou
well
muito
done,
bom,
production
muito
team.
bem feito.
Jump
Awesome.
scared some people.
Wow.
me.
Nosso jogo desse tá todo lagado, ó.
Doing that. I'm gonna try.
And notice
This
how
is where I'm gonna live.
the cage has those skull elements built into it as well. Life and death all seen together at once in glorious, evil, clever harmony.
The whole art team just killed it.
That's
O alcance
incredible.
aparentemente é infinito.
Deployables. That's a lot of work for them to do.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
awesome.
It really did.
This god is just specifically
É
more work than a
infinito. Se
usual.
bater em alguma estrutura, ela vai e desabrocha ali, sei lá, vira essa bosta aí. Atravessa a parede? Não. Se bater na parede, ela vira o...
With this ultimate,
She's not that scary. She's got good motivations. Come on.
yeah, I guess.
You're a human. She'd be cool to you.
Oh man, that was sweet. All right, let's take a listen. We got the voice pack, of course, we have to listen to for Persephone.
Eles estão zoando. Não, é alcance infinito. Você vai poder lutar no infinito. Só que não tem como você lutar no infinito, porque o mapa ele é cheio de paredes e coisas assim. Mas o alcance é bem longo mesmo. É longo. Bem longo. Bem longo. É longo demais.
Nice.
Oof, the puns.
O que vocês estão achando do personagem? Legal? Eu gostei do kit de habilidades, viu? Eu gosto de personagens que você comba as habilidades pra poder fazer alguma coisa legal. Eu não gosto de ficar dando ataque básico nem a pau. Fala aí, Virgil, beleza?
Yeah, you can't be for production. You can't be in God mode.
Osíris na forma espiritual escapa do casulo de vinhas? Acho que não. Ele só não consegue colidir. Ele fica imune à colisão com implantáveis. Mas é uma coisa de testar, né?
50% damage.
Can do everything else.
If you can use all your abilities,
including your ult.
including your ult.
Okay, and you are did you say you're CC immune?
Your CC, you can't be interacted with.
She's untargetable.
Yeah, so you can't take damage. You can't be CC'd.
She doesn't body block either. She can't. So she can't just be like an infinite hunter wall of blocking volley.
Tem que testar pra ver.
She can't just body block you inside tower range, right?
Correct.
Anyone can pass through her.
That is too cool, man.
It's also important to worth noting. We're working on it right now, but when she goes live, she will, in theory, have a material swap.
Ela fica viva por mais 8
Glow,
segundos.
so it's more apparent that
8
she's
segundos, né?
in her resurrected state and not just.
É nem o palio dos seus quebrados. Mentira, meu palio tá da hora. E boys. Você achou a skin do Kukugan melhor do que a da Arconte? Com certeza é melhor do que a da Arconte, mas eu não gostei muito da asa no final não, achei que a asa ficou muito grande.
More red.
No, that's the base.
E aí, Matt?
That's
O
not
Matt tá levando a live para segundas
It's
intenções.
fantastic.
Gostei da personagem, vou dar nota 10 pra ela. Muito bem feita, parabéns. Muito melhor do que o Loro. Eita, pô, tá parecendo a menina lá do Black Desert. Vamos ver essa skin recolor dela. Será que o Capri pode reviver ela? É uma boa
We figured people
questão.
who preferred a plant goddess would like green, so.
Fair enough.
This
That is
almost
really
shows
cool.
more of her springtime outfit versus her fall-winter outfit.
Okay, yeah, you're seeing both ends of the wardrobe there.
You're a
That-
caster. You got to dress up. You understand some basic fashion principles of fall colors and spring
Very
colors.
basic.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just ask Tom most of the time, to be honest.
Me
with
too.
you.
But yeah,
That's the way we do it.
we have
around
professional art team that understands those very well.
Here. Yes,
And this recolor turned out awesome.
it really did. That is sweet. You get to both ends of the spectrum. Persephone looks great. Of course, PTS will be up shortly.
Yes.
We hope that. So to stay tuned to all of our social medias and that kind of stuff. Smite Pro on Twitter is.
We
the
do
place
want to
or
call
Smite Game,
attention
rather.
to that her mastery skins will not be launching in her update.
Okay.
They will be launched next.
Vai estar no